Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the all-merciful. Hello to you all, dear viewers. Welcome to another program about the techniques of communication and also Islamic propagation and Tabigh, in the way of knowing the techniques, the rules, the elements of communication. In the former sessions, I talked about another technique of propagation which was very useful, about half-truth technique or sandwich technique. Today I want to talk about other techniques in regard with the propagational techniques. One of the important techniques which are used in order to encourage the audience and not to offend the feelings of the audience is euphoria. Euphoria is a technique which is the use of an event that generates happiness, or for example generates euphoria by using an appealing, for example, event to boost morale and also to create, for example, a feeling that the audience, for example, feel very excited by that words or by that technique you are using. This technique is normally used, for example, in national holidays, for example, in military parade or military lecturings, or for example patriotic messages. Okay, these are some of the techniques which is really encouraging the audience. Just an example, if you refer, for example, to the speeches of Hitler, okay, when he was talking to his soldiers in that time, because of his character and because of the words he normally used, the audience normally became overexcited, and they couldn't feel that, for example, they are in a war, they are fighting. They became so courageous, they became so, as a matter of fact, happy and overjoyed to go and fight with the enemy, because of the words that, for example, the leader of that group, of course we don't want to judge about that, for example, it was good or bad. Of course, in the history, if you referred, he was the cause of the world wars, for example, and in many occasions he is criticized of his actions. And even today, for example, Germany is suffering from that mistake, or those mistakes that they have done or he has done. However, I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about the technique of a speech. Okay, it is called the euphoria. Or for example, in a demonstration, when people are in the rally on the streets, the person who is leading the demonstration normally uses some words which is actually very, for example, courageous words, very important words which makes happiness, which makes joy. So this makes the audience always refreshed and happy. Now, how we can use it in our, for example, propagation or Islamic techniques? Evade from negativities. If you want to influence and pierce into the heart of the audience, try to talk about positive points and some heroic words and very encouraging words that the audience feel happy Look at the culture of those people you are talking to and understand what makes them happy, which words are important for them. What is the beautiful word that when you use that word, they will feel, I know, very happy, and they will come to be really one of the patriotics of and one of the fans of you. Sometimes just one word is enough to change whole the document or change whole the, for example, situation. Just one word. So it is very important to go and know about them. Sometimes just one word, for example, you are talking to some country, for example, to Norwegian, for example. You are talking to, for example, an Italian person. You are talking to an Indian person. Okay? Find out which word makes them happy and reminds them of very good feeling, and which event in their history or in their culture are important. So narrate them, first of all, and secondly, try to talk about positive points, or the rate or the percentage of your positive feelings are more than the negative ones. In categorization of the lectures and speeches or movies, one of the ways to analyze, it is a kind of qualitative analysis of the data and, for example, of the movies, of the lectures. It has been mentioned that when you want to find out the character of the lecturer, okay, count the names or count the verbs which are negative and count the verbs which are positive. If the positive verbs and positive words and positive things are more, so it shows that the character of that person is positive. If he or she is always talking about negative points, find out that his or her character is critical. Is always criticizing the situation, or just looking at the bad points. So it is very important. And when people are listening to you, be sure that they are judging about your character. So try to talk about this issue. Now, how it is useful for us. The best example of this technique was the technique which are the lectures of the Supreme Leader of Iran, for example, or for example, Ayatollah Khamenei. May he has a long life, and also the founder of Islamic Revolution, Imam Khomeini. If you refer to their speeches, by religious points, by religious doctrines, by religious techniques, they were talking to the people of their time, and even right now, those whoever listens to these great people's lectures, they really feel beauty. They feel that really they are different. For example, never you can find in the speeches of, for example, Supreme Leader of Iran that he's criticizing the people. He's always talking that these people are the best people. These people are always, for example, they are the heroes. As if these are the only people on the earth that they are, for example, vigilant, they are very clever, they are very smart. So this is very important. That, for example, if you go to Tabigh, if you go to talk about Islam in one part of the world, first of all, know about the techniques, know about the culture of the audience, know about the euphoria techniques of that culture and that citizens or those people of those countries, and use those words. In that case, in that time, you will see the courage and you will see the light of happiness in their eyes, and that's it. If you combine the Islamic techniques and ma'arif of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam in a way that you talk it beautifully to the people, be sure that they will follow you. There is a hadith from Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam that he has stated that لو علم الناس محاسن كلامنا لاتبعونا. If people here is general, it means that all the people, especially nowadays, which I'm talking about non-Muslim countries, for example, or non-Shia countries, if people would know the beauties of our words, certainly and immediately they will follow us. What does it mean? It means that if we, it's better to say somehow decorate the words of A'imma alayhimus salam as they wanted, not as a heresy, no. Utter and state the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam in a way that you encourage the audience, okay, so they will follow you immediately. But you have to know their culture. It is very important. I was one time in Norway, and I was talking to the people about their culture, etc. I asked that what is the way? I normally ask in my journeys when I go to different countries, when I want to know the culture of the people. I asked that if I want to be influential, for example, to the Norwegian people, especially, for example, those who are living in Oslo, for example, how can I act? He replied, if you want to be, for example, influential to the people, okay, here, skiing, for example, camps are very important. For the Norwegian people, because they are always living in the places that are full of mountains and jungles, and there are many stations for skiing, skiing on the snow, okay. So people, it is in the culture of the people that you participate in their culture in the skiing on the snow. In that case, you will be influential. This is very strange for us. For example, for us in the Middle East, that we say, okay, how technique is this? But this is influential. If you want to be influential in that part of the world, you have to participate in their ceremonies. In that case, they will trust you. For example, you go to because one of the techniques, if you want to influence on the audience, okay, is that you go to the heart of the people and start propagation, okay? So when you want to to be influential on the audience, okay, it is not just only sit on the chair in front of a camera, or for example on the minbar, on the pulpit, and just in some occasions talk about, for example, some holidays, for example, about the Holy Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or in the martyrdom days. It is not enough. You have to communicate with the people. Communication. Our course and our lessons is about that. You have to accentuate your positivities and your, how can I say, your abilities and skills in communication. Okay. For example, when in this part of the world, skiing is very important on the snow because they are living in the snow. Because this is one of the coldest parts of the world, like Alaska, for example, or like the North or South Poles, okay, because they're very near to that one. Go, for example, in a skiing and start talking to them and change their mentality. Because when you go there, they see you, okay, they will understand that you are communicating with their culture, okay, and that's good. This is one of the techniques. So all the point I mentioned is that know about the culture of the people. In many ahadith we had this point, and even in Quran we have that. In the verse that we didn't send any prophet unless on the language of the people of that part of or that tribe or that group. The language here it doesn't just refer to the language per se, for example, English, Persian, Arabic, and etc. It also refers to the culture of those people. In one part of the world, for example, driving is important. For example, in Moscow, driving is one culture of the people, just driving on the street. In Norway, skiing is important, for example. I don't know, for example, in one part of the world, one of the cultures they have is, for example, having, for example, some matches with the cars, I don't know, going some kinds of the games. Of course, we have to be vigilant that, use the techniques which are allowed in Islam. This is very important. This is a very key term. So, all we talked today was about the technique of euphoria, or making happiness in the audience, that the audience feel overjoyed, overexcited, and they will participate in your, as a matter of fact, understanding of a religious way. And if you want to benefit in this technique, then this technique would be beneficial. You can use another technique, which is euphemism. Euphemism is generally innocuous, as a matter of fact, innocuous and good word or expression used in the place of one that may be found offensive or suggest something unpleasant. Okay? What does it mean? For example, when you want to talk to the audience, and your audience, that they have character which is not a good character, okay? And for example, they are very superstitious people, okay? They are superstitious people. They are believing in superstition instead of believing in God, okay? Don't directly talk to them that you are, for example, superstitious people, okay? So you are, for example, not right people. Or, for example, directly jump to the point and saying that, for example, superstition is not allowed in Islam, superstition is not blah, blah, and etc. No, this is not a good way. If you want to address the audience, don't call them superstitious people, for example. Call them, for example, in a way that they are not offended. Maybe they themselves do not believe that they are superstitious. They are believing, for example, in one kind of God. Okay? For example, say or address them in a way that, for example, you are so magic people, you are very interesting people believing in this kind of belief, and this is interesting to the theologists, but for example, this kind is in religious techniques is called, for example, superstition. Don't go directly to the point, okay? Or, for example, a person who is a dustman. Dustman is a person on the streets, for example, tries to clean the streets. In some parts of the world, this job is not a good job, okay? Okay, you use, for example, the sanitation agent or sanitation officer. Sanitation refers to also cleaning, beautifying the place or decorate the people. But you have chosen a word which is not offensive to the audience. So again, by this technique, you have, first of all, not offended the audience, and secondly, you have made the audience happy, and they will listen to you. So today I talked about two techniques, about euphoria and euphemism technique in the propagation, and Islamic propagation, and religious propagation, and Tabigh. Until next program, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.